Hi guys, so I want to do a story time about my new Oracle deck and just the story behind it, how it was created, and the intention behind it. And yeah, just kind of it's like my baby, and I'm so happy that it's out in the world right now, and I really just want to share the story behind it with you guys, or for whoever feels called to watch this video. So I just want to show you guys, this lighting's like super good with the foil. It like looks holographic. It's like silver, but I guess it's like holographic silver. Okay, so let me get comfortable. So this Oracle deck is so special because the way it was created, it was channeled in two very powerful Lemurian portals. So it was channeled, the first half of it was conceived and channeled in Mount Shasta while I was living in Mount Shasta, kind of towards the end of my journey there. And then the rest of it was completed once I moved to Kauai. And then once I feel like I was only guided to move to Kauai for like these activations and to finish this deck. And then as soon as I finished the deck, I moved. Like my guides moved me to a new island. So it's been a wild ride the last few years. Like everything still feels very unreal. Like I wake up every day and I'm just like, how is this like my life? I don't even understand how things changed so drastically for me the last few years, like living in such powerful energy portals, like, and just witnessing so much unfold, so many activations. It's so beautiful to have this deck to kind of like be a symbol of my journey while I was living in those portals. So it holds so many codes, and part of actually like one of the main reasons why I was guided to live in those portals, besides so many other reasons, was to create and birth this Oracle deck, which I never saw it coming. I was into like digital art. Like people would say like, oh, have you ever thought of making an Oracle deck? And it was always something that I thought would be really cool, but I had no idea it would ever happen, especially not as fast as it did. And I have my guides to thank for that, because they basically aligned everything for me, and I kind of was just the vessel for these energies to come through. So it's a really magical story, and yeah, I just want to tell it and share it with you guys because it's special to my heart. And yeah, this deck holds all of that magical energy. And yeah, it's just been a wild ride with the whole creation of this deck. It happened so fast. So yeah, like for like a year or two, maybe only like a year and a half, I would be like, oh yeah, that'd be so cool to create my own Oracle deck, but like how the hell would I ever do that? And like I didn't feel called to start. Like no inspiration was coming through. So I just thought it'd be cool, and it's something in the back of my head where I was like, oh yeah, like that'd be cool if it ever happened one day, you know, like something that I didn't think would happen. So after living in Mount Shasta for almost a year, I was there for like 11 months. And during the last few months, I was feeling called to leave. And I remember, I forget how it happened, but one day, a soul sister, who's actually in the deck, let me find her card so I can share her image while I'm talking about her. Her name's Charis. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's Charis. Sorry, I'm trying to like spell her first and last name put together. So it's so synchronistic because she's a dear soul sister that I actually found after my very second time visiting Mount Shasta. I started seeing elementals in the forest, like gnomes and like mystical creatures, like tree spirits and stuff like that. And I didn't know what they were because that was like at the beginning of my my like journey where I didn't know much about all of that stuff. And so I remember looking it up. I'm just looking for her card as I speak. That's why I'm looking down. But I remember messaging her and saying like, oh wow, I found your videos on YouTube. I saw elementals in Mount Shasta in the forest and I didn't know what they were. And then when I went to go look it up, I had found her video talking about elementals, and it turns out she had a whole bunch of videos on Mount Shasta and frequented that portal. So I thought that was super interesting. So I followed her on Instagram, and we had been following each other maybe for like a few years, and here she is. So, and her name on Instagram is Charismelina, Charismelina. So she messaged me and she said, hey, have you ever thought of creating an oracle deck? I forget like the whole thing that she said, but when she messaged me, she was a divine reminder from the universe, and it was like an alarm clock that was like, ding, 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 it's time. Like, it's time for this oracle deck to be birthed and created. Because the day she messaged me, I voicemailed her, or voice noted her back on Instagram, and I was like, that's so crazy you say that, because I'd been wanting to do that for a while. I just didn't feel really inspired to do so. So when she messaged me, it was literally like the universe, spirit sent her to tell me it's time. So the day or the night, I think it was that night, the night after she messaged me, or the night of when she messaged me, all this stuff came through. Like, it was like, whew, downloads after download after download. And I had created, so I'd just gotten a new iPad. I bet you guys don't know this, but I actually created this oracle deck on my iPad. And all of the images were created on my iPad using an app. So it's how I create most of my digital art. I'm starting to learn how to Photoshop and everything now. But this whole deck was created on an iPad on a free app. So pretty cool. I just felt called to share that. Because what's funny is when I was wanting to create a deck, I wanted to do it on Photoshop. I thought that's the only way that I could create a professional deck. And I asked my mom, because I didn't have the money, I asked her if she would consider getting me a MacBook on her credit card, because I told her that I need a professional computer, that I want to create an oracle deck, and that was like the only way that I believed in my mind. I was like, I need a computer, I need to learn how to Photoshop, I need to do all this stuff, right? And then I got it, she got it for me, and I never even ended up using it like for that. I use it now for my business and my website and everything, but I tried to learn Photoshop at the time and it was so overwhelming. I was just like, what the hell? Like, I just saw something in my kitchen. I just saw a white energy like go like that in my kitchen and then disappear. That was really weird. I don't really ever see things. Like, that's an ability I'm learning to strengthen. But that was really crazy. Sorry, like can't believe my eyes. Okay, that was weird. So anyways, at that time, I don't even remember what happened. I think I'm just kind of dragging this out. I like to get to the point, but at the same time, I like to, like, as I'm telling the story, I like to reminisce and really like share. So if it's too long, you can turn the video off, but I feel like whoever's meant to listen to the whole story can decide whether they want to listen to the video. I feel like I always do that to myself and I let my ego get in the way, and it's like, don't take too long, try to get to the point, but it's like, or I can just allow myself to say whatever I want to say, and if it's too long for somebody, then they can choose to like exit out of the video, you know. But it's just something I'm learning to allow myself to just like flow and not like allow my ego to step into the way. Like I really enjoy like telling stories and sharing about the magical like things that happened leading up to like the creation of this deck. So I forget how it happened, but then I ended up not being able to do it, and it was just so freaking complicated to try to learn how to use Photoshop. So I remember getting a iPad, because I didn't even get it for the Oracle deck. I ended up getting an iPad for Procreate, because I wanted to learn how to draw, but I am a terrible drawer and painter. Like if it requires me moving my hand, like I can't even write. Like I have the handwriting of like a teenage boy. Like it is just chicken scratch. My hand, like I don't know how to move my hand, like if that makes sense. Like I am an artist in a digital sense. It's like the Atlantean part of me, where I'm very like technical, and I'm like I could like figure things out technically, and I can learn digital art, and I'm creative in that sense with digital art, but I do not know how to paint for shit. I got Procreate on the iPad, and I tried to draw something and it looked like a 4-year-old drew it. So I gave up on that dream of like learning how to draw on Procreate. So I eventually just ended up letting my daughter use it to play her games. And so anyways, back to this all has to do with the story, in case anyone's wondering what the hell I'm even talking about and what this has to do with the story of my Oracle deck. But so I had gotten the new iPad. That was the main point. And after Carice messaged me, a whole bunch of inspiration started coming through, and it was coming through so fast. So I jumped on the iPad, because I was already familiar with how to create digital art on the iPad. So I just started playing around on it. I had no idea that it was actually going to be the images that were used in the deck. I just allowed what was coming through to like come through. And so I remember sitting on my futon in my living room in Mount Shasta, like for just hours, and I would just be like literally sitting like this. It was so intense. And I remember literally how I was sitting, and I would have the iPad, and just for hours I would stay up all night, and I'd just be like, I could feel like energy coming through, and I would just like start creating all of these images. And literally in 2 days I had channeled about 20 to 22 images. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was like 20. But all I remember, if it was like half of the deck, because the deck is 44 cards. So half of these were created in 2 days, and the artwork looked different than my normal artwork. It came out very different, and it was like the best work that I had done. I was like, oh my God, like these are coming out really amazing. Like I'm normally so picky, and when I create things, like a lot of the times I'm not happy with it, or I think I could do better, but I really truly can't create unless I'm inspired. And so that's why I had stopped doing art commissions, because it my flow would be stunted. Is that the right word? My flow was restricted because people would be too specific and too specific, where they would tell me what they wanted. But the way I work and channel my artwork is I allow what wants to come through, and that's the only way I could create art, is to allow it to come through how it wants. I can't control it. And so when I would do commissions for people would be very specific, because they knew exactly what they wanted. So they'd tell me the exact symbolism, colors, and everything. Some people would be open to just allowing me to create. I mean, it it was something I offered, so they were supposed to be specific. So that's not like, I'm not saying like it was bad for anyone to be specific. I just wasn't meant to do commissions, basically, is I was restricting my flow because there were too many rules and I can't work that way. So it was actually a really different energy for me to truly have no rules and to just create for the sake of creating and to allow whatever wanted to come through in my art. And so I had no direction, I had no rules, I had nothing. I was a blank slate. It was just all this energy coming through, and I would just allow it to come through however it wanted. And 22 cards were created, or like 20, I don't know exactly, but I couldn't believe like my eyes. I was like, wait, so this is the deck? Like, I was like, I just created half the deck. It's been 2 days. Like, I was like really like in awe. And I'm gonna stop this video and then because I might have to post it in 2 parts, so let me restart this. Okay, so this is part 2. So I was like really blown away that all of the deck was like creating itself. I felt like it wasn't even me like creating it. It was really like a blur how it even all happened. I just sat there like just doing it, like, and it just came through, and then all the art was done. I was just like looking around like, how is this happening? So like there were like energies wanting to come through, and as soon as I got that message from Carice, it was like a activation, and it was a message from the universe saying it's time, and that allowed all this energy to start pouring through. So like it's so weird because like it wasn't even me who really wanted to create this deck. Like, it's so weird to say, but truly, like, it wasn't me that was like, this deck needs to come out now. Like, I need to create it that fast. Like, I literally had no attachment to even making a deck. It wasn't even like my top priority. Like, there literally was energy wanting to come through, and it was meant to come through. And yeah, it's just really magical. I know like the Lemurians and many galactic ET guides of mine are the ones who guided this whole project, and it's just so magical. So I just want to share the story, but that's only half the story. So after all of that, right, it was during the time where I was getting ready to leave Mount Shasta, and I was feeling really, really called to move to Kauai. So before I jump into that story, for those of you who don't know, Mount Shasta is a very, very powerful energetic vortex, and it holds the energy of Lemuria, and the Lemurians are there in the inner earth in a city called Telos, which is a 5th dimensional city, and that's why the Lemurian energy is so strong there. So it's like a Lemurian portal, and that's what initially called me and drew me to Mount Shasta, is because I started reading the Telos books, and it was an instant like pull, and I was like, I have to go there. And I went there for the first time for my 28th birthday, and I couldn't stop going. After the first trip there, for my birthday, I got 2 Lemurian crystals. I had so many synchronicities with the Lemurians. I talk about it on my YouTube channel. My very first YouTube video I ever made on my Children of the Cosmos YouTube channel was the synchronicities that I had there. And I could not stop going back. Like, any chance I got, I went to go visit Mount Shasta, and it wasn't very often. I lived about 3.5 hours away in Sacramento when I first started learning about Mount Shasta, and just any chance I got, I would go back, until finally I was called to move there, and I moved there and I lived there for 11 months. And yeah, it's a very important part of my journey. So it's really special that half of my oracle deck was channeled there, because Mount Shasta has been such a huge part of my journey, and remembering my Lemurian lifetime, and yeah, it's such a special place. I have been recently feeling called to visit there so badly. So hopefully I get to go back soon. But yeah, it was at the end of my journey with Mount Shasta where the deck started being created. And so in the middle of me creating the deck, I had moved to Kauai, and that was all a surprise to me too, because it's somewhere I'd wanted to move for a while, had no idea that it was ever gonna happen. I thought it was years away, and my guides got me there within 2 weeks. It was like a sudden jump where I was like, okay, it's time. The universe delivered the message in the form of a soul sister again, messaging me saying, hey, Spirit wanted me to ask you, when are you coming to Kauai? I can help you look for housing, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And literally, like, that's how my guides got me to Kauai, is just everything started aligning. The opportunities and finances fell into place magically, literally like magic, and just bam, 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 everything aligned and moved to Kauai. So then when I got there, I was in quarantine because it's in the middle of like the corona stuff. So I had to quarantine at a hotel for 14 days. And while I was in quarantine, I started working again on my oracle deck images. And the first 2 images that I created, I don't know if it was the exact first 2, but it was some of the first ones I created, and they were all mermaid energy. And when I moved to Kauai, which is also another powerful Lemurian portal, that's when my mermaid self started activating very strongly. And I started remembering and feeling very connected to my mermaid aspect. So I'm trying to flip through these cards. This was the first card that came through as soon as I touched down in Kauai and was sitting on the sofa in the hotel and started working on this. I don't know. I really don't even remember. I just allowed it to come through, and then this image came through. And this ended up being the cover of the oracle deck, which I actually did not plan on having this as the cover. I had a different card planned to be the cover of the deck. It was actually supposed to be this one. And I changed it last minute because I was like, nope, this isn't supposed to be the cover. This is supposed to be the cover. So I made this the cover of the deck, and it was meant to be, because this is like a whole portal in its own right. Like that, there's no other image that could have compared to this being the cover. Like when I look at this cover, like if I didn't create this deck and I saw this deck in a shop, I would instantly feel drawn to it. And it's just so encoded and it's so magical. Like whoever's meant to find the deck, like that's how it's going to catch their attention. They're going to look at it and feel a soul resonance. And it's like Lemuria, but it's like mermaid galactic, like energy, like Lemuria. It's not the typical blues and greens that you see when you hear of Lemuria, but it's very much Lemuria. So it's the energy, the whole energy I tapped into in this deck is a combination of Lemuria and cosmic energy. So you'll see like pastels, but you'll also see dark, like Atlantis energy is also very strong in the deck. Atlantis, galactic, ETs, it's a whole blend. Like, but yeah, anyways, when I first got to Kauai, that image came through, and it was very different from all the other art that I made in Mount Shasta. So like I was receiving all the activations. I literally have chills, like even talking about it. I was receiving all the activations and the Lemurian upgrades that I was receiving, and all the mermaid activations, and then all these mermaid images started to come through. So this one I created, then this one came through. So like all this mermaid energy. There's one other one. And then these, which are supposed to be like mermaids. So I was like witnessing a shift in the artwork, and I was like, whoa, like this is really cool, and just kind of allowed like whatever wanted to come through to come through. Then there was a pause after I had moved into my new home, after I found a home, because I moved to Kauai without even having a home. I just stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks and searched Craigslist in hopes that I would find a place for me and my daughter to live. But it's funny because like I knew I was supposed to be there, and I knew without a doubt that I'd find a place. So it was full trust. It was such a huge leap of faith, but I was being guided there, and I knew that my guides would take care of me, and I knew I would never be guided to move to an island with no backup like plan in place. So I knew we were gonna find a place to live. And when we got into our home, this card was created in quarantine too. And I was just talking about leap of faith and trust. And as I was writing, or not writing this card, as I was creating this card, I was going through the lesson. The message in the description of this card is exactly what I was learning as I was going through it and experiencing, learning to really trust when you take a leap of faith and you follow your heart into something. Like a lot of the lessons I was learning as I was creating the cards, which is really interesting. So yeah, it's so magical. But when I finally found our home, there was like a huge pause on the creation of the images, and I had not written any of the meanings. The meanings came last. I created the images first, and then based off of the image, I would look at it, feel into it, and then channel the description for each card. And I did that during the last month before the Oracle deck went into print. So it was kind of a interesting process the way it was created. I remember it's so funny because it was actually right as I was getting ready to move to Oahu. So everything always happens like right as the end of my chapter in that portal closes. So like right before I was about to leave Mount Shasta, 20 decks were channeled. Right before I was about to leave Kauai, every single meaning of each card was channeled. Like, and I sat there every day for a month just channeling each card description, and it happened right at the end, like literally the month I was about to leave the island. So I knew that I was meant to leave Kauai, but I didn't know until the end. Like I was not guided to move. I had no idea I would ever move to Oahu. I found out the month that I moved, and that's how my whole journey has been, where I don't know it's about to happen, and then my guides align everything, and then bam, I'm like off to the next place. It's been such a wild ride. I really don't even know where I'm gonna go next. I don't know if I'll be in Oahu for like, I don't know, it's so sporadic. Like the journey's just like, I just kind of flow with it wherever I go. But I signed a year lease here, so I'll be here for at least another year in Oahu. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that story because it's so magical, and I kind of just want to keep this video forever and remember a few years down the line when I want to go back and watch it. And then just for anyone who's interested on the creation of this deck. And oops, so these two cards just fell out. But yeah, I'm gonna end this at 15 minutes so I can post 2 different IGTVs, and I hope you guys enjoyed that special story of the creation of this deck. And I really want to make a video next on the different cards. I think I'm actually gonna record it like right after this one, but there's like a story behind each card too, so I want to tell that story too for anyone interested. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.